1 week left, and this is going to be probably the toughest week for several teams. And it could be the last week for some teams to even make the playoffs. This is Sports Hour. This is the week. So week 14 is over. Week 15 is on its way. I am going to be telling you guys about week 16 games as well in this video, because there may not be a Sports Hour video next week. There's only going to be 2 more Sports Hour videos after this one. It's going to be interesting for these last couple games. Looking first at the games from last week, Leland Cats won their game. They have to play it against the Panthers this week, which is the toughest game ever this season. Tex won against the Lions. Pirates were able to beat the Packers. The Foxes were able to win against the Kings by 2. Athens beat the Saints for only their second win of the season. Legends beat the Cardinals, no surprises there. Bulldogs beat the Jets. Pretty close game for Birds. Well, it should have been anyways, it was not. Hawks beat the Ravens, which could potentially be the reason that the Hawks win the division and make the playoffs. Tigers beat the Giants. Not really an easy game for either one of them to win. Something interesting for that game. Westville, so surprises, beat the Chargers. Chargers are still winless. They're not the only team that's winless. USA beat the Werewolves. Bears beat the Dragons. Pretty much blew out the Dragons, actually. Indians surprised the Otters and won the game for quite a bit. Lightning beat the Falcons, which is in 14 right now. Colts beat the Superman, also a surprising game. Beagles beat the Stars in overtime, the only game they went to overtime this week. Lynx surprised and beat the Warriors. Panthers beat the Knights. We'll play the Knights again in the last week of the season. And the Browns beat the Angels. Currently, it's a very interesting, close game for us. As I look for the divisions, and I did not update the NBL, actually. I updated the rank. So currently, the ranks should be correct. They are playing for certain positions. So currently, the Foxes are first in the context of point-wise, only by a little bit. Pirates are second, and Panthers are third. Panthers currently have the highest and best chance of winning the division. Winning this week pretty much ensures them to be the number 1 seed. Currently, they are the number 1. They are currently counted as the number 1 seed, but they're not necessarily the number 1 seed because there's still a possibility that the Foxes take it. No other team can do it at this point, so they're the only team to do it. It's going to be an interesting matchup for this thing. They have a lot more points than any other team. It's not even close for any of those games. Looking at this here, currently divisional leaders, I'm going to go ahead and just do divisions. Panthers have the first seed. Foxes are not far behind with the second seed. Pirates currently have the third seed. And here's where it gets complicated. Because the Angels, Bulldogs, and Browns all have the exact same record. And so this is a very, very, very tough game. For the NBL East, if you look at the NBL East. For the NBL East, not the ABL East. Currently, if you looked at the Bulldogs are 1-1 with the Angels. They beat the. They have one game against the Saints. They did not play the Saints somehow for this year, but they did. So they are probably in the games. Currently, if you look at this, the Angels currently have a division only because the Bulldogs and Angels did play, and they went 1-1. Point-wise, the Bulldogs are slightly lower than the Angels. As for the Browns, I can show the Browns here. Browns are very close as well, but they only have one win in the division, which means they are not currently in the playoffs. They must win both of their final two games and or tie their games, or for this to even be possible for the Browns to win. So currently it is the Angels, but this could be either way. Problem is, it's most likely none of those teams, only one of those teams is getting into the playoffs as the final. Currently goes with the next teams, and I don't think anything's changed much. Hawks currently have the 5th seed, followed by the Ravens. And the Knights and Legends are currently in position for the next seed. So as of right now, if you look at this thing here, the only team, any team that has less than 7 wins right now, can't actually make the playoffs. Can't make playoffs as the wild card. So this is going to be interesting. But looking at this, these two teams are the only two teams that can even possibly make the wild card. All the other teams, we can go and put them up here. Dogs were eliminated. Every team here is eliminated. Falcons without a win. Cardinals lost. Indians did get a win, but unfortunately that doesn't put them in the playoffs. Giants got a loss. Tigers won. Again, doesn't go in the playoffs. But a loss here for the Dogs. Dragons. Looking to see the Dragons went 4-10, also putting them out of playoffs. And same thing with the Saints. The Saints also are eliminated. All the teams that are currently 7-0, are on the block right now. They lose this week. They lose any games from the season. They cannot make the playoffs as the wild card team. And likelihood is they won't make it anyways because they have to have the Knights or Legends both lose. So currently, these teams are all on the block. And they're only on the block because they are all the same record. If they were the same record, it doesn't make much of a difference. But all these teams are either going to win the division, or they're going to make playoffs as a wild card. But that will require the Knights and the Legends to both lose their last 2 games, and they have to win both their 2 games. Okay, they can actually tie. That would be theoretically possible. So ties are possible, but as of right now, not a good chance for them to do any of that. And I don't see much going on this. Right now, it's the Angels, but this could be an either way game. Any of the 3 teams that are on the block right now could win the division or not make playoffs at all. As for every other division, no other team can actually make playoffs at this point. Even with 2 more wins, it's not going to happen. On the other side, it's a little more difficult. Lions with a loss puts them at 4-10. The Colts also won their game actually, so they're at 5-9. Athens lost their game, right? Or did they win? Athens that you won their game. They're at 3. And Chargers took another loss. For the teams that were on the block this last season, or last week, the Eagles won their game, so they might still be on the block. Warriors and the Werewolves and the Ants both lost their games, so they might still be on the block as well, even with those losses. Let's see. Well, no. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, possibly 4. Tex haven't clinched quite yet, but they are on the edge of doing it. I think the Dolphins and the Ants are both eliminated from the playoffs. And the only reason that there's still a chance for the Eagles to win is because they can still make the playoffs off their other ends. As of right now, these are not correct. Leland Cats currently have the 1st seed. Warriors had first. I made a mistake for last week and thought the Warriors should be higher. Should have actually been, the R should have been on the division leads. I misread the thing, so they are not currently division leaders, but there's still possibility for either one of these teams. Currently, the Techs do have division leaders wins. It is going to be tough, and we'll look at that one in a second here. As of right now, the other teams currently in the playoffs, Lynx would have the 5th seed. UNC and the Bobcats would have the next 2 seeds, and the Superman would have the last seed. So this is going to be interesting for this. Now, looking at the ABL West. Is that right? ABL West? No, ABL East. It's going to be very interesting, very tough to determine who's going to actually make the playoffs off of this one. I just don't even have the actual records for this. I do not know if that's actually correct, if it has it or not, but we're going to assume it is. For now, I don't want to go back for changing this. Only 2 games left. They have Techs still have to play the Bobcats and the Colts. Colts can't win the playoffs either, but the Techs do have the position they need to win both their games. If they win against the Bobcats, they will clinch as long as UNC loses to the Dolphins. It is going to be an interesting battle here for Leland. As for on the block teams, currently not really much of a thing here. there's not really a team that's on the block right now except for Westville. Westville is kind of on the block right here. And the only reason they're on the block is because they could, in theory, get eliminated this week. Beagles are still no. The weird thing is the Beagles do have a better chance of actually making the playoffs because of the fact that they do have a potential possibility to beat both the Supermen and Westville. Superman is currently in the playoffs right now, so they are not eliminated. But we'll see what happens next week for that game to occur, and we'll never know what's going to happen to it. All right, let's look at the next week. This is this week's, and I'll do my predictions for this week. As for week 16, we'll do those predictions next week. I'm going to show you the games going up into the last 2 weeks of the season. Starting off, we have the Tigers and the Hawks. The Tigers actually won their game, so this is a reversed game. And honestly, this is going to be a very interesting game. Playing at 1 o'clock on Saturday at NBL Stadium. This game commits in the history for these things. Tigers and Hawks have played plenty of times. As for the chances of doing this, it is not going to be easy. But both these teams have a very good chance of actually doing well. And I don't know which one to go for here because the Hawks have kind of disappointed me for some of the games. Haven't done terribly though, and I'm going to have to say I do not think the Tigers are going to have enough chance of doing this. Tigers currently pretty bad on both sides of the ball versus the Hawks, who are in a pretty good position in offense and not a terrible position in defense. I'm going to go with the Hawks here. I just don't see it even occurring for anything else happening. Got the Beagles and the Chargers. I think it's fairly obvious the Beagles are going to win that game. I don't think the Chargers are going. I think the Chargers are going to lose every game this season. When you go to Week 16, Week 16 will be a longer video where I'll be discussing what we actually predicted at the beginning of the season, as well as going to this. Okay. Otters and Supermen. This is going to be a very important game for the Otters to win. And Supermen lose, they probably are eliminated from the actual possibility of being higher than the 8th seed. I see the Supermen, and I think Supermen do have a good chance. Supermen are number 1 right now in defense, and number 11 in offense. As for the Otters are pretty high up there as well, and not really a great defense. I'm going to have to say this is going to be a very tough match. And I'm going to go with the Otters in this week. I think the Supermen just don't have quite what it takes to win this game. Packers and Warriors. Yeah, this is a tough one. Warriors need to win this game. I think Packers are going to win this game. I don't think there's much of a chance. Warriors, while having a really great offense, have a terrible defense. Packers are much better in the defense battle. I think the defense battle is what's going to come up to, and I think the Packers will win this game. I think the Warriors do have a good chance in doing well in this game, but I just don't see that they're going to win well enough to do this. All right, starting out, we'll go get the Saints and Werewolves. Both these teams are pretty bad. I don't see who's going to win this game. The only things I could take was the Superman. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's Superman. The Saints are down here. This is the wrong one. Saints are 3rd in defense and 30th in offense. That's not great for offense, but not terrible in defense. As for the Werewolves, they're pretty bad in both positions. They're 2 lower in defense. Yes. I'm going to go with the Saints winning this game, and I think it's going to be a very interesting match for this one. Jets and Bulldogs. Jets taking a loss last week, and that's pretty much it. The Jets are dead last in both offense and defense. Yeah, there's just not a good chance for them, especially when they're playing not such a terrible team right now. I think the Bulldogs easily win this game. Puppy, glad you are think it's a good chance to actually play, but I just don't see it working. Dogs and Cardinals, the last divisional game for them. Dogs, pretty bad in defense, pretty not decent in offense. As for the other one, Cardinals, yeah, they're pretty bad, both of them. This is going to be an interesting battle for both these teams. I do not see the Cardinals able to come up with a win for this week. I'm going to have to go with the Dogs. But this could be an either way battle in the end. Knights and the Lightning. This is actually a very important game. In order for the Knights to continue to have a chance at making the playoffs with a very good, with a higher seed, they must win this week. Are they going to win this week? We're looking at their stat lines. They are 8th and 17th versus the Lightning, who are 36th and 16th. I don't think there's much of a chance Knights win this game. Legends and 8th. This is a pretty could be interesting. 16th versus like 36th in defense. Yeah, this is not going to be a fun game for them at all. As for the Legends, although we spelled Legends wrong, I think it's spelled wrong. Legends are pretty good in defense and terrible in offense. I'm going to give the benefits of the doubt to the Athen in this case. I do think Athen has a better chance of winning this game in the end. I do not think they won't make playoffs for one thing, but I might think they might be able to keep the Legends out in the playoffs. As for Westville and Browns, Browns must win this week, otherwise they might be out of a playoff possibility. Westville, decent in both positions, not terrible in either one of them. Browns, pretty much terrible in both of them. I think the Browns do need to win this game, but I don't think they're going to win this game. I'm going to go with Westville winning this game, and this is probably going to be an interesting battle. But we'll come back to the game of the week, which is the highlight one. Ravens and Falcons, easily going to be the Ravens. There's no difference about that one. Falcons and Foxes and the Pirates could be the tough game. And with the Foxes win, they're still in. They have one of the better their defenses and offenses. Pirates have a pretty good win mode. This is going to be an interesting battle. I don't know how the Foxes are going to work at the end here, and I think they're going to fall in this game. I do not think they're going to do it. I'm going to go with the Pirates here, win this game. Angels and Lions. I think the Lions are just terrible. But looking at the Angels, they are pretty good defense and pretty decent in offense. As for the Lions, yeah, we might as well throw them off the map. They're not going to win this game. I'm going with the Angels all the way. Not the Angels. Indians and Dragons. Indians won last week. Surprisingly. And everyone thinks the Indians are going to win. Looking at the stat line for the Dragons are very bad. They have 26th in offense and 38th in defense. As for the Indians, they're in a much better position. I do think the Indians win this game. I think it will be a close game, though. Bears and the Kings could be the killer for both of these teams. As for the Kings, 12th in offense, not exactly the best option here. 32nd in defense versus the other way around when you get the Bears involved. They're probably the same. So could be. I think this is going to end up being whoever does the better offense. And looking at the score lines, I do think it's going to be a very close game. They have 1 point separating them. I'm going to go with the Bears winning this game. You could easily see the Kings winning that game, though. Lynx and the Jets. Okay. Lynx must win this game in order to even have a chance at the playoffs. With a 15th and 26th, they have a decent record, while the Jets have a pretty good offense with terrible defense. However, Jets have been kind of inaccurate here. I mean, we can go back and look at the Jets just for their season amounts here. Jets been kind of inconsistent. We got a loss, a win, a win, a loss, a win, a loss, a win. And they got a win, they got a win, they got a little tie. That was a high-scoring game. And then they got a win, then they got apparently a K, which is a win. And then they got a loss. So they've been kind of inconsistent versus the other way around. We'll talk about that when it is. They've been much more consistent. The Lynx have been much more consistent. Lynx have been 15th and they're 26th. Lynx really need a win here. If they don't get the win, there is a good chance they will not make playoffs. But they have the same problem. Kind of. They got win, 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 loss, win, win, loss, 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 win, win, loss, win. They're in a position yet. But they have been some of the tougher teams and have scored pretty high in the games. I mean, looking at the score lines for this game, you got to look at this. This is an 89. This is about a 90-point overall, versus the other team here, the Jets, who are looking only at 97 points, looking a little better in the context of position. They're 29, and then you got Lynx that are 41. I really wanted to say the Jets are going to win this game, but I just don't see them winning. I think the Lynx will be able to take over this game and win overall. Bobcats and the Tex, it's a tough one here because the Bobcats are actually quite good. That's a knob. That's not what it is. Bobcats are 10th in defense and 29th in offense versus the other side, the Tex, who are 12th in defense and 25th in offense. I don't know. I'm going to give the Bobcats the win here, but I think this is going to be it. And then a special game at 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Gosh. Mother's Day morning here. UNC and the Dolphins. I don't see this game being anything else than a really tough game. UNC is 13th, the 25th, 13th versus the Dolphins, who are might as well not even show up to the game. I'm going to say that UNC wins this game pretty comfortably, and UNC takes a chance to win this game. Colts and Stars. Colts did surprise me last week. Colts are 9th in offense and 23rd in defense. So not terrible. As for the Stars, Stars are pretty good in both sides of the ball. This could be either way for me. I'm going to say that at this point, I'm going to go the only person that is against the Stars. I really think this is going to be a bad move for me to do, but the Stars, I think the Colts are just going to have a slightly better edge. Sure, the Colts can't make the playoffs right now, and the Stars are insured into the playoffs. I will go and be the one person to go with the Colts. And because of the win they had last week, I think that is reasonable. Stars lost in overtime against one of the not so great teams. Colts won the game. Their game. Where is the Colts? I lost them. Won their game against one of the better teams. I think they're going to come back in this game, and I'm going to go with the Colts win this game. Finally, the game of the week, Leland Cats and Panthers, the game we have been waiting for all year. At Bank of America Stadium, the Leland Cats and the Panthers will play both teams undefeated at this point. Panthers being first in offense and 9th in defense versus the Leland Cats, who are 5th in offense and 19th in defense. But looking at the first place position, there's only 90 points between them. Versus the Panthers have only 60 points. The difference here in point system is so different, and I think the offense is going to be the big need in this game. And I just don't see the Leland Cats, winning this game. I'm going to go with the Panthers. I could be completely wrong about that, and that would be the Panthers' only 3rd loss in the last couple of years. If you look at the rankings, I don't know if we have rankings up here. We don't. But I think this is going to be an interesting game. I'm going to go and show you guys the predictions, show you guys the games for next week, so you guys can take a look at those as well. I'll make the predictions as in because no one else has made the predictions either. But one thing I will say, there's 3 things I will say right now. I do not see the Chargers winning any games this season. Looking at this week, the last week, Chargers. Where's the Chargers? They got to play against the Beagles, which is not going to be an easy game. And then the next week, if they somehow come up with a miracle and win this last week, I don't even know. They're playing the Dolphins. That might be the better chance of the 2 games for them to actually win. And we'll see what happens next week. The playoffs will be insured at this point. And I will probably not get the 16th week game up until Thursday. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to keep your game on. And I will say right now, this is going to be probably the hardest week here. One more thing I will say right now. The next season of the NBL is insured. The reason why I'm saying this right now is because the last week of the NBL Sports Hour, which I'm going to get my thing here. I don't need that. The last season. This is their season. Next season there will be the draft. The last video for this will be after the playoffs occur, which I believe, just checking to make sure here, will be I think it's 3 weeks from now. So the last one should end up being Saturday the 3rd, which will be the final game for the NBL playoffs, whoever plays in those games. There will be no more Sports Hour episodes until December 1st. I believe that's the way correct. Make sure I have that correct here. Yeah, so it's not December 1st. It will be December 2nd. Will be the next time there will be a Sports Hour episode after that. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to keep your game on. And as always, I hope you have good luck next week.